Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on this webinar today. We'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll just wait for some more attendees to join us. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to give it another minute or two and we'll kick off shortly. Welcome to the Beacon webinar. We'll be kicking off in a couple of minutes. Hello and welcome to the second episode of our webinar series for our Symphony partnerships. I'm really delighted to be joined by Justin Ho today from Beacon. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Mesh. Thank you very much for having me here.
Great. How are you? Justin, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So actually, I'm a senior Beacon developer based in Tokyo. I've been working out in the Tokyo area for the last 10 years in the finance industry, and did a small stint in semiconductors before. And it's very interesting working out over here. It's quite different from working locations, say, in London or New York.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I spent about 1.5 years working in Tokyo, so I kind of know the culture. I love the people. It's just such a fun, exciting place to work, right?
Oh, yes, it definitely is. And there's a great international community, and the work environment is really different. So so many different things to learn and pick up, and it's very fast paced and a great market to be working in.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Beacon, Justin.
Sure. How about I just jump into the first slide and give a really dense description of what it is. So Beacon is a unique combination of a powerful cloud-based enterprise technology platform that supercharges developer productivity and a suite of financial analytics which enable cloud-native applications out of the box. And that might sound a little bit condensed in terms of the description of what Beacon is, but I'll take the next few slides to unpack the statement. So Beacon is a cloud-based enterprise platform for financial institutions. And on this platform, we provide all a secure infrastructure sandbox, our developer tools, and transparent source code to our clients. And I think this is really unique because we actually provide a very, very integrated platform that allows users to really develop the software, manage the infrastructure, and then deploy it really quickly without needing to worry about buying servers, having a data management team, or having a database and other things. So we want to make all the hard parts about running a financial institution as transparent as possible.
Got you. So Justin, you talk about kind of quick deployment and kind of speed of how quickly you can kind of get it on desktops. What's the typical time frame for getting Beacon deployed out to a client or to a user?
If they really, really want it quickly, I can spin up a new Beacon platform instance in about 12 minutes.
Wow, that's really quick.
Yes. So we have our deployment capabilities down pat, and we can onboard new clients and give them a test environment really quickly to try things out. Of course, if you're working with enterprise clients that want to integrate it into their internal systems, like authentication, login, and their own networks, we can also do those kind of bespoke customizations and setups for clients as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So one of the key benefits that you listed here is removing the shared pain point of getting data. How do people pull data into Beacon? How does that flow work? How do you kind of allow for the data to then be used within Beacon?
I think data is one of the parts of it, and I'm sure that people have different databases containing their data for equities or fixed income. They might have Bloomberg or Reuters feeds. They have fixed connectivity. As a financial institution, one of the core things at Beacon is we are really looking at the shared problems that every financial institution have and solve them once in a good way so that everyone can leverage the platform to do what they want to do. And so by providing these kind of things, people spend less time developing these connectors and tools. And the ironic thing is, within the same organization, you might have 10 or 20 teams, and they are all implementing the same thing. So we feel that having one tool that's been battle tested is a great opportunity for people to really utilize the scalability of our platform to get things done quickly.
Of course, and as an industry, we're very aware that there's very big disparate data pools with inconsistencies. And I guess using the Beacon connectors, you're pulling that all into one environment to then use that content for analysis and further calculations.
Exactly. And so as every business is kind of different, we don't want to spend time to worry about data replication. We can also replicate data in, but but we don't need to worry about things about making sure that the data is reconciled and everything's okay. Of course, you can import data into Beacon and also derive new indicators, information from the data that you have. And we provide all the platform tools to store that data natively. So the idea is really to allow organizations to use what they have and really further sharpen their edge so they can really solve the challenging business challenges that they have to really make a great business case for their clients.
And how many of these connectors do you have pre-built, Justin? How many kind of come out with Beacon out of the box?
We have at least about 5 to 7 of them available, and we can easily scale up with more connectors depending on the use cases of the client.
Fantastic. You talk about one of the other benefits you've got listed is the pre-built models and applications. Just give us a bit of a flavor of what Beacon is actually used for. We talked about the data, we talked about the cloud. What do you do with the data once it's within Beacon?
Exactly. So I think every once you have your data in things like your equities or fixed income or your swaps and the data is in the database. The next part is you really need to have an instrument model to model these products. And so our instruments are able to link to this data. So you'll be able to do more complicated things like, given a time series, what is the volatility? If you're doing swaps, do you want to see the curve? If you want to modify the curve, how does your swap price change? And so we think that these are very common things that every financial institutions are doing, and we find that this is a good way of leveraging the data and also providing our models to allow people to do the higher value add things. And if clients are really interested in changing the models because they want to model things differently, we provide our classes to our users, and they can make those modifications in the ways that they want to.
Got you. Sounds good.
All right. So yeah, we'll go on to the next slide and talk a little bit more about the features of Beacon and how they're connected with the benefits that we've talked about here. So we're starting on the left side here. We talked about a few of the instruments that we have. And we're not just, a platform just for equities. We're not a platform just for futures. We're not a platform just for fixed income. We're a platform that encompasses, we're a cross asset platform. And so we created all of our instruments and make them available to our users, and then add the analytics on top where the users are able to handle things like the life cycle, the settlement, the booking, and also the applications that go along with these, just to make life easier for the users. Because, as we mentioned before, these should be solved problems. And we want to give as much pre-made, instruments and packages to the users so they can get off the ground running. And
you're covering multi-asset, so you're kind of going across the whole of the firm.
Yes.
And you're looking at the complete trade life cycle as well, so you're going kind of front to back as well.
Yes, we can do front to back as well. If you want to connect Beacon to your back office systems or you want to connect Beacon to an external back office systems, we can just change the format of the output and make it compatible with other systems quite easily. And you don't have to use every feature of Beacon because some organizations already have their own systems in place. You can just use the parts that you want and expand later on, depending on use case. And it's a really good and low-risk way to try out a new system as well.
So you're getting that very quick, affordable scalability, right? You're kind of launching the Beacon, you're using it to an extent, and then as you grow and the needs, requirements grow, you can just scale and get bigger and bigger and increase the adoption and usage. Exactly.
And we've seen exactly this case, especially for during COVID. If we're talking about the case in the spring where the oil future prices went negative, there were organizations out there that never that hadn't traded these products before and wanted to take advantage of this volatility. They basically just said, hey, we don't need to buy a new system. We have the instruments here, but we just don't use them yet. We'll do the fundamental analysis and the time series analysis, plug in the models, and then they're pretty much off to go. So that's really the advantage of leveraging a system that's cross-asset.
Wow, really clever. Just in terms of the financial engineering that you got listed, what kind of models do you cover and what's available out of the box? So
it depends on the instruments that you're looking for. The financial engineering can encompass things like, the risk that you want, your portfolio risk that you want to model. So say if it's your swaps, then you want to do like curve bumping, the Monte Carlo simulations. If you want to do things like two-factor simulations, those can be done as well. The kinds of the models that you want to use will vary depending on the instruments, but we have all that added in the back.
And given the flexibility you talked about earlier, you can take like the Monte Carlo model and adapt that depending upon the use case, the firm, the risk parameters that you have as well, I presume.
Exactly. And, coming back to the COVID situation, when a lot of the fundamental assumptions or the fundamental parameters change, you want to validate your model. And the other good part I'll tie into the infrastructure is running these computations to run the models can be quite heavy. Other organizations can have from, multiple thousands of cores running to be able to run two different models that use 1,000 cores each. Can be prohibitive if you're not on the cloud. And so we had a client that run two separate models and validated against each other to make sure that things are correctly, and they could just shut down the machines when not using them. So they don't need to manage any capital assets and get the results that they want at a good price in terms of infrastructure.
So something that is really important to a lot of the industry and a lot of our clients, if I've adopted a Monte Carlo simulation, for example, where is that data stored? Who has access to my secret source and my new model that I've just created?
Yeah, and I think that's a something that we can address easily in several parts. First off, the data, actually where Beacon is installed is installed in a user-owned cloud account. So we are pretty much only guests in terms of that cloud account, and you own the entire infrastructure, all the setup and data inside of it. This is also very good in terms of regulatory standpoint, because Beacon doesn't own or have any of the data that you have. When it comes to, say, building your own intellectual property on top of Beacon, we also don't own and you can also control all the visibility of that to Beacon. You can store all of your code in a separate location and just use and inherit or develop on top of what we have while keeping that private. And we find that it gives everyone the right level of security and the proper audit trail, especially when talking to regulators, to make sure that all the things are properly covered.
Got you. Shall we jump into a demo, Justin? Let's see what it looks like. Sure
thing. So let me get my screen share going.
So while you're setting that up, who's the typical user of Beacon?
Okay, that's a great question. So we actually want to make all users a first-class citizen in terms of using Beacon. I've talked a lot about developers at first, but developers, quant developers, and also the users, we want them all to feel comfortable using a platform like Beacon. Is the screen share up? I think it's just coming up right now. So what you're seeing right now is basically a Beacon desktop, and it should be as simple as for a normal user to have something equivalent of like the desktop stream on your iPhone, your home screen, your iPhone, be able to pick out what applications that you want to use and just launch them and see and go about your daily activities. We have things like like plotting apps. This is a plot of the volatility curve for IBM. All of these visualizations are available out of the box in Beacon. The developers should plug things in and say, here's what the data looks like to your sales or your other users. If you want to take a look at, if your analytics team want to take a look at quotes and take a look at the plots of them, they can take a look here. If you have a pricing team, we have a quote tool, trade blotter for your booking team, and also coming down to developers, we have a development environment all in the cloud, and so we have the full suite all in one location. And so that means that you don't need a desktop or a laptop in an office where you need to be to do this work. And we've really seen the benefits of this, especially in times like COVID. People can work at home with the right security parameters set up, VPN connectivity. None of the software lives outside of the cloud account. And that way, all the data and everything is secure.
So how does Beacon integrate with Symphony, Justin?
Okay, sure. So actually, I've got a Symphony screen right here on the side. And Beacon itself has Symphony integrations built in. So we have all the credential management built in, and we can also set profiles for different users, and then we can target the different chat rooms for people to use. And so
I love the name of your room, by the way.
Demo, exactly. And so actually, what I have running right on the right-hand side is the Symphony code on the side. I'll touch a little bit about that in a little bit, but in order to see what's going on, I'll jump into the trade blotter. Yeah. So we'll look at something what a typical user might see. So on the right-hand side here, we have a trade blotter, and the left side here, this is the Symphony demo screen over here. And all we need to do is, if you're talking with another financial institution, you've got a trade that you've confirmed you want to book. It's quite easy to put in a command and say that, all right, I want to book this deal. And now we see that, we have a contract, a futures contract that has expiry on December 20th, quantity of 15 and premium 30, booked in and just flow right into the trade blotter over here. And
so you've used the Symphony the application talking to the Beacon integration to book a transaction into the Beacon platform.
Yes.
Right.
And
very clever.
Yeah.
And so can you kind of extract information as well? So could I ask the Beacon bot to go and get data from the trade blotter, for example?
Sure. So I actually just ran a command, this deals command, and right on the side over here, you can extract the deal that was booked, or we can actually we can also extract the position and see what the position is for this book. So if you're a typical user, you're chatting with other clients, and you say, you have a workflow where you say, all right, deal's done, let's book it. You don't even have to go to the booking tool. All of this can be done through the Symphony chat application, and we also can recognize who is talking at the same time and determine if they're authorized to make a booking or not.
Got you. And that makes it quite powerful, because if I'm on a mobile device which Symphony is available on, using the Beacon integration, you can potentially book transactions, verify that it's the right user, and they're allowed to book as well. And then you can also pull up your position information when you're on the move and out and about.
Exactly. So
working from home in these circumstances, obviously.
Exactly. So we feel that being able to do this kind of stuff is very, very liberating and empowering for our users, because we give them more opportunities to really collaborate with multiple platforms. And the more platforms we can collaborate with, we think that it empowers the users to be able to work in more varied environments.
So, Justin, in terms of the actual Beacon, the bot, how does that work? What's available out of the box, and how quickly is it just to create something like this?
Sure. Let me go back to that scary screen that we were talking before. And so the neat thing about this, you don't have to understand anything about the code behind here. All we need to and for example, let's take a look at this code over here. This is the booking rule code. And it's only from line 28 to 44, and that's only 16 lines of code to create a booking, a rule that allows someone to book into our trade blotter, and all of the complicated things in the back end, things like managing a connection to the trading application, the API, where to store it in the database, having a user interface to look at the trade blotter. And also maybe the code to interact with Symphony is already provided in Beacon. And so all you need to do is add 16 lines of code, and you already have a bot running that can handle a booking rule. And we can do something similar, say, with our position rule here. And this rule here is only 14 lines long. So you can inherently see how powerful this platform can be in terms of what it saves people and the amount of work they need to do something.
And that bot kind of scaffolding, if you like, is predetermined. It's available as part of the Beacon standard install.
Exactly.
Right. So, Justin, so far I can see a really powerful Python developer application that allows people to pull in different data components, different kind of information, and then use different modeling, some out of the box and some customized, to look at analysis, look at transaction, and that data then can be quickly and easily delivered through Symphony.
Exactly. So all the analytics, if you want to do more complicated plots or want to create more rich interactions, we know that we understand that Symphony allows for rich HTML kind of displays, so we can connect those to our backends on Beacon and then create a really rich application for users to be able to communicate with a full-on financial platform.
That's fantastic. It's really, really interesting. Justin, we've just had a couple of questions come in.
Sure.
So one of the questions we have is, how does a user organization learn to use a platform like Beacon?
Yeah. Beacon itself is a very large and encompassing platform. And because we cover a lot of instruments, we have our infrastructure on top of it, we have full-on documentation available to clients. And we have video sessions and trainings that we give to our users. So in general, we onboard and train users within 2 or 3 weeks, and people are easily comfortable, writing their own applications right afterwards. And we find that the onboarding process works really well especially when there's a project or a problem where the user wants to solve with Beacon. And we can really target the points, the things that they need to know to get things running as fast as they can.
And as we know, a lot of the front office staff that we certainly engage with, banks and clients are recruiting people that are trained up on Python because it's such a powerful language to use and relatively quick to understand and deploy these enhanced and complex models.
Yes. And we see the same thing as well. And I think over the last 10 years, the pickup in terms of Python language in general has been growing significantly, and we've also seen that happen in the finance world too. And one of the reasons why we picked Python is inherently all of the code that we write over here runs as it is written, and there's nothing needed to compile or hide from the user. And we find that this transparency really helps collaboration and allows people to share information and code across the organization to get things done.
Wow. I've just had another question come in. If anyone else has any questions, please feel to drop them into the chat. What kind of organizations use Beacon? And also, how does Beacon work for a small firm versus a large enterprise firm?
Okay. I would say that, for small firms, the real advantages of Beacon is not needing a big team to run your applications or develop things. If you were a bank that didn't have access to a cloud platform, you would need to buy your own servers, install them, connect them, have a database person, spin up some databases, set things up like that. All of that is no longer needed. And so as soon as you ask for installation of Beacon, we'll provide it to you. And then after that, the users start using exactly what they need. And usually what they care about is developing their models and applications and getting them out. For large organizations, the requirements can change. The stakes are higher, the numbers are bigger. And we find that, they may want to have a production environment, a test environment, run things in parallel. They want to have segregations between different teams, access control, change management, and all those things. And so those are things that large organizations really do care about. And so we have all of those things built into Beacon as well. And so you don't have to use bolt-on external systems to take care of these requirements. So we can actually cater to both the smaller organizations and the larger institutions that have the requirements and their structure that is needed to use an application like this.
Fantastic. So, Justin, how do any of our kind of participants today reach out to you? How do they get more information?
Sure. We have a webpage at www.beacon.io. You can also contact us through info@beacon.com.io, and we can take on any kind of requests or queries through there.
Okay, fantastic. Justin, thank you very much for your time today. It's been really insightful to get a really deep understanding of what Beacon does and the quick deployment and the power that it has and how quickly we can kind of get clients up and running and using these enhanced models just to kind of enhance their workflows, particularly in these difficult COVID times and people working remotely.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much for having me here.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.